Welcome back to Introduction to Synthesizers, a free class that will teach you all the skills you need to start working with synths. Now, in the previous videos, we learned how all synthesizers, regardless of their type, will follow a very simple three-step process for creating new sounds. Step number one is to produce a raw sound. Step number two is to modify that sound. And then step number three is to amplify it so it can be heard. Today, we are going to learn another tool for producing raw sounds, and that will be Unison Mode. Together, we're going to learn what Unison Mode is, the three most common unison settings and parameters found in almost every synth, and of course, plenty of useful tips and strategies for applying it to create unique and engaging sounds. So, with that out of the way, let's get started. Now, Unison is essentially an expanded version of the doubling and detuning oscillator configuration that we learned in video 3 of the series. As the name implies, doubling and detuning involves taking two oscillators and then slightly detuning them by equal amounts, but in opposite directions to help create a fuzzier, somewhat more aggressive sound, which can even result in a little bit of like pulsing vibrato type qualities when applied in strong doses. Now, Unison takes this concept and just doubles down on it. Rather than manually doubling your oscillators, Unison takes your entire synth and produces multiple voices, detunes each and every one of those voices slightly, and then often pans them subtly further away from each other to help create a much larger and wider variation of your sound. Now, as usual, every synth will typically have its own approach to setting up and applying unison, but they will almost invariably involve at least 3 parameters. The first is unison number. This little number determines how many times your synth will multiply your sound. The larger the number, the stronger the effect your unison will have. With only 2 voices, we essentially have the same exact effect as doubling and detuning. As we get more and more added, the effect becomes stronger until we cap out in Massive X here with 6 voices, creating a fuzzier, rounder, wider quality of sound. Now, the second parameter is unison detune, which determines how strongly each individual duplicate of your synth will be detuned from the original and the other duplicates. The stronger you detune your sound, the more aggressively unstable it will become, often resulting in a much more dramatic pulsing quality in your sound. And the third and final parameter is something called unison spread, which controls how strongly your duplicates are panned from left to right, allowing you to control how wide your sound feels, keeping them either closely centered, more widely panned, or strongly panned. Again, the more you detune, the more strongly this becomes noticeable. Of the 3 parameters, this one, unison spread, tends to be the most commonly left out option. It's not uncommon for a synthesizer to default to a predetermined setting. However, genuinely, you will find each of these controls in any synth you pick up. For example, in Massive, our unison is found in the voicing tab, where unisono controls how many voices you are working with. Coincidentally, the maximum number is matched by the maximum number of polyphonic voices you are able to work with in this synth. Unison spread is controlled over here. Unison detune is determined with this slider, where you can actually determine what the maximum amount of detuning is by dragging or typing in a value here, the maximum being down an octave or up an octave, and the slider can control how strongly it detunes along that range. There's another slider on this side, so you can set a minimum value and a maximum value and just create a sliding scale, which you can attach an envelope to if you'd like, or any other modulating tool, of which we will discuss several more in future episodes, like LFOs, performers, and all that kind of cool stuff. Similar to Massive X, Massive allows for unison spread, where pan position down here can range from fully inverted, swapping to the left and right, to mono in the middle, and fully spread out across the full stereo field when pushed all the way to the right. In Absynth 6, you can find unison here with the uni button on each individual oscillator, where you can set the amount of voices up to 8 and the amount of detune. In Absynth 6, there appears to be no option for unison spread. After reading the manual, I believe this is because they have the ability for full surround sound panning here down underneath each individual oscillator, which is a really cool option not many synths actually have. As you've probably noticed, each synth will tend to have additional variations of this strategy. For example, in both Massive X and Massive, we have the opportunity to take the detuning a step further and actually have knobs and sliders to transform the detuned voices into actual chords, which is what you heard at the beginning of this video. With this little drop-down menu allowing you to decide which type of chord you are creating. It's honestly a lot of fun to play with. But when setting up unison as a tool, you will typically experiment back and forth with your unison number and detune amount before settling on a sound and finally addressing the spread. As usual though, it is one thing to know all this theory, and quite another to know when, how, and why you should apply it. So let's cover 3 specific uses for unison, shall we? First and foremost, unison is a useful tool for creating bigger, wider sounds. Specifically, it can be used to help transform your synth from sounding like a solo instrument and give it qualities that sound more like an ensemble of multiple versions of the same exact instrument all playing at the same time. Secondly, unison with a small number can be used to imitate a doubling and detuning oscillator configuration, while also still leaving your oscillators free to apply a totally different configuration, like doubling and transposing, to help create a weird kind of hybrid sound of multiple different oscillator configurations all at the same time. And finally, unison with the spread available as an option can be used to just give your synth a much wider quality than is possible with doubling and detuning alone, taking full advantage of the stereo field for bringing the size and width that this tool is capable of creating. However, just because these are 3 common uses for unison does not mean they are the only uses. And it should go without saying, but when combined with all the information we've learned in the previous 6 videos, there are nearly limitless applications for this tool. For example, you could use different modulation envelope shapes to help manipulate the unison spread and detune across time, giving your sound a morphing quality. Or you could combine a pluck shape for your amp envelope with a longer attack time on a modulation envelope to create a pluck with a subtle dissolving quality at the end. Again, as always, your imagination is the limit here, and you don't need any permission or precedent to try experimenting with any ideas you have. Play around with it, try weird things, experiment with strange ideas, and if you find something you like, make note of it, or you can save your sound as a preset. Half the fun of sound design is just creating new sounds by accident and then finding projects to use them in weeks or months later. Now, before we end this video, we do need to take a moment to address how this tool can be used to fit in your general workflow. So, as usual, my first step that I like to start with is deciding which type of synth I'm trying to create. In this case, are we working with a lead, a pluck, a pad, or a bass? Then I would select an initial oscillator to use as a reference for setting up my amp envelope. This is also where I would decide to set up my synth as being monophonic or polyphonic. Once it's set up, I would experiment with my oscillator configuration. And this is where I would consider using Unison to create the sound I want, making small tweaks to my amp envelope as necessary before experimenting with filters. Once my initial sound is set up, I would then begin experimenting with how applying amp envelope generators to various parameters of my synth could help provide additional personality and color to my sound, and how portamento and or legato mode can help contribute to the personality of my instrument. As you can probably tell, there is going to be a lot of moving back and forth between various steps when creating a synth, and that's okay. It's not supposed to be dogmatic or linear. You are allowed to play around and experiment. The point of having a workflow is to just simply help reduce choice paralysis, which can be super common in sound design because there's so many different options that you can choose from and so many different directions you can take your sounds in. And using only what we've learned in these first 6 videos, we're already able to create a wide variety of interesting and unique sounds. So, with that taken care of, we have reached the end of another video, my friends. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Today, we have added the following items to your new synth checklist. If you find yourself working with a new synth and you can identify these simple tools, you will be that much closer to mastering your new instrument. Today, a special thank you goes to my patrons and channel members who make videos like this one possible. I appreciate each of you more than you know. You can use the affiliate link in the description of this video to grab a copy of any of the synths used in these videos so far and follow along with the rest of this series. So until next time, my friends, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music. I will see you in the next video.